Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Canada's boxing channel. So, it's the day after the big fights, and there'll be lots of videos about, who should have done what, shoulda, coulda, woulda, who did well, who did less well, etc. And there'll be lots of different perspectives offered, both on the fights and also then speculation about, where do fighters go, what happens to the winners, what happens to those that didn't win, and, should people have taken certain fights, should people have done something different. There'll be endless amounts of entertainment for us all today. It'll be kind of hard to catch up with it, I'm pretty certain. One of the things that I did see that I found interesting, and I think that people generally will find interesting, is some interviews that Billie Nelson has given. What's next for Martin Bakoles, really? As we know, Martin Bakoles took the Joe Parker fight at really incredible short notice. I mean, the fight was on Saturday. Thursday he was in the Congo, kind of thing, right? And so Billie Nelson was explaining how this all unfolded. That Billie Nelson had been, keeping his eyes open on what was happening in Riyadh, and became aware that Daniel Dubois had suffered some illness. And apparently he put up on X, formerly Twitter, some comments like, Martin Bakoles here, give me a phone call, kind of thing. And he tagged in Turki Al Sheikh. And of course, he gets a call from either Turki Al Sheikh directly or from somebody on Turki Al Sheikh's staff. And apparently the money, according to Billie Nelson, was life-changing money that was being offered to Martin Bakoles. Now, there were other people who had put up their names. We've heard Lawrence Okole's name being mentioned, and Billie Nelson mentioned Fabio Wardley's name. I've no idea if that was accurate or not, but apparently, there were other people in the mix, and I think we'd heard that. I think that Lawrence Okole's name had been advanced by a number of different outlets as being a potential. This was the first I heard about Fabio Wardley. But anyhow, Martin Bakoles is getting the call, or rather Billie Nelson's getting the call. And because the money was so, as Billie Nelson says, life-changing, he didn't put a dollar value on this. We've seen all sorts of numbers, from the very low number that TalkSport reported to significantly bigger numbers that I believe the Sun newspaper in the UK was reporting. We may never know. I'm sure that the tax man wants to know. But anyhow, it was a substantial amount, clearly. And so Billie Nelson, as not only Bakoles' trainer, but also his manager, excuse me, please, he obviously has to put that offer, that proposal, to his fighter Martin Bakoles, who had been in the Congo for, it appears that he was doing some bag work in Scotland, not sparring, but some bag work, ticking over, and Billie Nelson had given him a week off to go to the Congo to meet with the Congolese president and to do other, business and personal things that one does when, one's away. And so he wasn't training in the Congo. He was basically having a week off. Billie Nelson puts the proposal to him. Martin Bakoles says, absolutely, I'll take that. And then, of course, we know the flights and all that jazz. I still am very confused why a executive jet could not have been provided, but maybe that'll come out in the wash. Maybe it was offered, maybe it wasn't. Anyways, he gets to Riyadh and we know then what happened, right? He doesn't really have any sleep at all. Apparently, according to Billie Nelson, he was nodding off, taking a nap in the dressing room prior to the fight. So literally, this man is not trained, and according to Billie Nelson, he really is sleep deprived. Billie Nelson says that he felt that his fighter, Martin Bakoles, was hurting Joe Parker a couple of times. I didn't see that. But Billie Nelson was better positioned to be able to make that observation than I was watching it on DAZN. And he gives full credit to Joe Parker for what Joe Parker did. Said Joe Parker was very sharp, and he did say a number of times that what he would like is for there to be a fully fit, fully camped through Martin Bakoles getting a rematch with Joe Parker. And he said, and I believe this is accurate, that a fully fit, fully camped up Martin Bakoles would give Joseph Parker a more difficult night's work than he was given yesterday. And I think that's fair, right? This isn't taking anything whatsoever away from Joe Parker. I know some people are really passionate about Joe Parker, and so am I actually. I'm a Joe Parker fan, but I think clearly fighting a person who's had a 12-week camp is it's a tougher row to hoe than fighting somebody who hasn't had a camp. I think most of us would say that that's sort of self-evident. As for Martin Bakoles' future, apparently Turki Al Sheikh has confirmed that the fight with Efe Ajagbar is going to proceed as planned on May the 2nd, but it won't be an IBF final eliminator. As best as I can figure out, Bakole having fought for a WBO interim will take him out of the mix for an IBF eliminator, final eliminator. I'm not sure, to be honest, why that is, but I'm just repeating what I heard Billie Nelson say. But the fight is going to proceed. And apparently Turki Al Sheikh has also expressed his sincere gratitude to Martin Bakoles and to Billie Nelson for stepping up and saving this fight. And so, he's said that he's indebted, Turki Al Sheikh, that is. So I would suspect that there will be other lucrative opportunities put to Martin Bakoles down the road. So this sounds like it's a good news story. Obviously a loss isn't a good news story in and of itself, and possibly losing out on an IBF final eliminator isn't a good news story, but the overall big picture seems to be a good news story. Billie Nelson also said something which we've said on this channel, we've talked about, that taking a loss isn't a big, I won't say it's not a big deal, it's not the be-all and end-all of everything. A person can take a loss and their career cannot necessarily be impacted negatively in the, again, big picture, great scheme of things. I mean, he referenced Derek Chisora, for example, who has made a lot of money out of boxing and is still, a much beloved figure amongst a fan base, and yet he's had 13 losses. And we've talked about this before, how it's how you recover from a loss, how you move past a loss that really will define you, rather than the loss itself. So I take that all at face value, and I don't disagree with it at all. He did say that he would like to, this is Billie Nelson, he said he would like for his man, Martin Bakoles, to fight Efe Ajagbar, beat Ajagbar, fight an other, so, another name. He did mention Anthony Joshua as a potential future opponent for Martin Bakoles. And then he said that after beating Ajagbar and an other, he would like the rematch with Parker. And again, that seems not unreasonable, right? So if Parker, for example, was to get a title shot, then it's not unreasonable that Bakole would have a chance to challenge for that title. But regardless, he would like to have that rematch with Parker. So it was an interesting interview. He did say and took issue with criticism that had been leveled by Eddie Hearn. Eddie Hearn had said that Martin Bakoles probably shouldn't have taken the fight. Now, of course, hindsight is 2020, and I think that Eddie Hearn was speaking more for, as mapping out a career. Possibly, now you've taken this fight, you've taking yourself off the ladder towards an IBF final eliminator. Maybe that's what Eddie Hearn had in his mind. We don't know, right? But Billie Nelson said something that actually kind of does resonate, and it's to do with the money. You know, as we've said, Billie Nelson has reported that this was life-changing money for Martin Bakoles, and he said it was very easy for a multi-millionaire, i.e. Eddie Hearn, to say what he said. Obviously, Eddie Hearn is not concerned about money from his personal perspective. I have no idea how much money Eddie Hearn has, but probably more than he could spend in his lifetime. So it's easy for very, very, very rich people to be somewhat dismissive of the decisions that non-wealthy people make when they are offered life-changing wealth. You know, I get that, right? You know, somebody who's got, you know, hundreds of millions of dollars might well criticize the decision that somebody who doesn't have much money at all makes in order to get $1 million. Because if you've got hundreds of $1 million, $1 million is, you know, chicken feed, right? But for somebody, well, somebody like me, $1 million would be an immense amount of money, right? Anyhow, it was an interesting interview. It was conducted by, I believe, the Stomping Ground, but there are a number of channels. You know, all the great and good are out in Riyadh. So if it wasn't one of them, it's another of them. I'm not intentionally not referencing the channel. I just really don't remember, and you know, there's so much of it. You know, there's like a dozen or so big famous channels that are there, and you know, it's left for the rest of us to sort of, you know, just look through and see what people are saying, and maybe add our own comments, right? So interesting. Who would you like to see Martin Bakoles fight next after FA Ajagbark, which that apparently is now, you know, cast in stone? But after that, who would you like to see Bakole fight? Would you like to see Bakole fight AJ? Would AJ fight Bakole? You know, is AJ still that relevant? I mean, of course, he's a money draw, but yeah, let me know what you think. If you like this video, please like, please share, as always. Please subscribe. We're growing. You know, I've been told that growing a YouTube channel is a marathon, not a sprint. But we are growing, which is wonderful. And I'll see you on the next video. Wherever you are, have a fabulous day. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.